like to welcome you all here today. We're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm not going to welcome the panel initially. You can see their names up and everybody's job titles, but we're going to play some games while we do this panel, so we're going to kind of reveal things as we go. So bear with me. What I can say is all of us work in the gaming industry, but maybe not in the way that you might think. So when people say, hey, you work in games, most people will assume that you're a programmer or a developer or you work with code in some way, but we all do something slightly different, and each of us has a unique role to play. And what we really want to share with you today is how many different types of careers there are in the gaming industry, and that you don't have to be an esports athlete or a game developer. There's so many roles that you can play, and it's such a welcoming industry that embraces so many different and diverse careers. And also there are lots of unusual pathways into this industry as well. You don't have to follow one direct line. There's lots of unusual and wonderful ways into this industry. And today we're going to talk about some of them that you might not have thought of before. So we're going to begin with a game. How many of you know two truths and a lie? Yeah? Okay, great. So how you play the game is if you can go to the next slide. And the next one. Okay, there we go. So we're going to put up 3 descriptions of our jobs, any of the 5 of us that we do in the gaming industry. 2 of them will be truths and 1 will be a lie. And we want you to guess which one is the lie. So we want you to cheer really loudly. I'll read them out when we get there. And we want you to cheer really loudly for the description that you think couldn't possibly fit in the gaming industry. This person couldn't possibly play this role in the gaming industry. It doesn't fit. It's not part of playing games or producing games. So let's move to the next slide and we'll see. Okay. All right. So the first one is, I help young people discover what they're capable of. The next one, not the next slide. I bring the right people together to solve important problems. And the third one, I help change the way people think about Africa. Okay, so who thinks the first one is the lie? I help young people discover what they're capable of. Huh? Okay. One of them's a lie. You've got to cheer for one of them. I bring the right people together to solve important problems. Is that the lie? You think that could be part of the gaming industry? Okay. I help change the way people think about Africa. Lie? Okay. So that is actually a truth. So Victor, we're going to hear from Victor just now. But Victor, do you want to just quickly say a little bit about how that is not a lie?
Hello. Hi. My name is Victor Mark Onyegbo, and that is indeed not a lie. Very, very big truth. I work with a narrative change organization called Africa No Filter. It's an advocacy organization. And what we do is to work with storytellers. And when we say storytellers, we're referring to everybody who applies creativity and showcases creativity in different forms. So it could be gamers like yourselves and other practitioners in the immersive media space. But we work with all of you, including filmmakers, musicians, poets, just name them, to shift narratives about Africa from narratives that are built around poverty, corruption, poor leadership, diseases, those usual stereotypes that are now outdated. We work with you to shift narratives from those to narratives built around opportunity, progress, and innovation. And so we work with storytellers in the gaming industry to set the foundations upon which they build worlds, right? You've played all those games where there's world building and you're in an ecosystem that represents a group of people or culture. We work with storytellers to ensure that there is a right representation of Africa in those virtual worlds. Thank you.
Okay, so one of our other panelists is Justin. Justin's from Endless Access, and a lot of you are going to get to spend a bit of time with him and learn about this amazing game that he's building. But Justin, you're building a game, but you're not a game developer. So how did that happen?
Good question. Hi, everybody. I'm glad I was able to follow Victor there, because I think how that happened is a little bit connected to why I'm in the games industry now, which is basically, as a teacher, I'm most interested in sort of unlocking or breaking down any barriers that are technical that may be in the way for young people like yourselves to express yourselves, tell your stories, and express your creativity. So I've spent a good part of my life, even though it's a strange path, a good part of my life dedicated to sort of breaking down any barriers to that opportunity for you guys. So that's what I'm here to do, is support you guys telling your stories, expressing your creativity, and showing you that you can do it, even if some of the tools might seem complicated or intimidating at first.
Great. So we have a storyteller, we have a teacher. What are the other interesting roles? I'm speaking to all of our panelists now. What are the other interesting roles that you've come across in the industry that kind of support the gaming industry but aren't the traditional coder developer role?
One of them is community engagement, right? I think that that's really important. We talk about making games, but games are really only successful if you have communities of people that are playing them. And I think a lot of times when I talk to people who say, I'm not really interested in being a programmer, but I'm really excited about working in games, as important as, like I said, building is getting that audience and connecting with people. And when you have games that have these strong communities about people that love them and talking about them, it doesn't just happen by chance. No one wakes up and all of a sudden millions of people are playing their game, but it's this effort of continuously engaging with an audience. And so I think that's one of the really cool opportunities that people don't talk nearly enough about, is the people that support the players once a game launches. So I'd say community engagement's a fun one.
Hello. Have any of you played World of Warcraft? Yeah. So there's a really interesting role in a lot of these MMOs, or massively multiplayer online games, called a games economist. And so if any of you are concerned, you're thinking, well, I want to be in finance, I want to be an economist. You have a parent who's saying you have to study money or business. This is a role in the games industry. You're a game economist, and the job that you have in a game like World of Warcraft is to design systems in these games to create healthy, thriving economies in a game. And so if you have a parent, or you have a teacher, or you're very focused on maths or anything like that, this is a job that exists in the game industry. It's a surprising one, but you could be an economist, but in a game, for a game like World of Warcraft. So there's 1,000,001 different roles that you could do. If you wanted to be a physical therapist, you could be a physical therapist for an esports team, where you're helping someone stretch their hands and arms so that they stay healthy longer in their careers. If you wanted to be a lawyer, you could be a lawyer for, again, like an esports team or for a game development company. All of these companies, I don't know if Hugo's here, but Melio Games has lawyers. So if you wanted to be a lawyer, you could be a lawyer for a games company as well. So all of these dreams that you might have, like Amy was saying, if you want to be in the games industry, or so this is something that you're passionate about, you don't have to write code. You don't have to be an artist or a sound engineer. You can be, but whatever it is you're passionate about, if it's the economy, you could be economist in a game. If it's law, you could be a lawyer for a games company. These roles exist, and so this industry is ready and waiting for you.
Great. Are you ready for another game? Are you ready for another game? Yay, okay, that's better. Gosh, wake up. Okay, so none of our panelists walked into the games industry through the front door. Everybody has a wonderful story to tell about how they got there. So panelists, raise your hand if you accidentally ended up in games. Raise your hand if you didn't even know that your job existed when you were in high school. Okay, so we're going to play a game called Career Plot Twist. Okay, so we can go to the next slide, please. All right, so we're going to reveal some of the panelists' first jobs that they ever did, as well as their current role. And what we want you to do is match them with the correct panelist. Okay. All right, let's go. The first one. Okay, assistant language teacher in Japan. Okay, so we want some guesses. Audience. Justin?
Sam, you want to
Matthew?
guess? Justin.
Justin or Matthew?
Just.
Okay, all right, let's reveal. Wow, well done. Well done. Were you Googling that? That was very good. All right, next slide, please. Assistant to the Minister of the Federal Capital of Nigeria. Victor, any other guesses? I think that's a pretty good guess, that one. Yeah, let's reveal. Oh dear. Okay, did it go over the slide? Just go back one. Oh dear, okay. You were indeed correct. It was Victor. Well done. All right, last one. Exercise instructor. Maria. Matthew. I heard a Matthew. All right, let's reveal. Oh, hang on. That was the other one. That was Victor, right? There we go. It was me. Okay, however, you're not terribly wrong with Maria, because Maria had a really big leap with her career. She started as a journalist in sports journalism. And now she leads the biggest game creator event in the world. So, Maria, could you tell us a little bit about your story, please?
Yeah, so I started out actually wanting to write about sports. My very first job was covering all kinds of sports for a newspaper, and then after that I worked for ESPN. So I covered soccer, as we call it in the US, but football, and I covered the NBA and the NFL, and I spent about 10 years doing that. And then I thought, here's the thing, when you're young, everyone says to you, what do you want to do when you grow up? And so you say things like, I want to be a sports reporter. And no one ever says to you, and then what do you want to do after that? And I got to a point where after 10 years, and I said I was at ESPN, which is in sports media is about as high as you can go. And I just thought, well, do I want to do this forever? I was maybe 30, 29, and I just thought, no, I think I want to do something else. And so I was trying to figure out what to do. And my mother, of all people, had gotten some funding and said, I think we should start a video game company. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we started a game company building educational games, teaching math to kids a lot like some of you here, and trying to make it fun and exciting. And so we spent 13 years building an educational video game company and studio. And then after that, I thought, okay, I hadn't really thought what I was going to do after that being successful. So the opportunity to lead the Global Game Jam came up. I don't know if any of you have ever done a game jam. Do you know what a game jam is? So a game jam, for those you don't know, is when people get together and just make a game in like a weekend or a week. So for us, we run the world's biggest game jam. We have about 40,000 people that participate every year. In 100 countries. And what the really cool thing is, most of the folks who are participating, about 60%, have not made a game before. And so we get to be there and support people making their very, very first game, and then getting to see what that's like and put it into the world and then go from there. And so, yeah, if you had told me that I would go from covering, football to running the world's largest game jam event, I would never have ever believed you. But I think that's the thing. And a lot of people in the games industry will say, oh, I took an untraditional path. And I used to say that, like I took an untraditional route to get here. But the more I've worked in this industry, there is no real one traditional path. And so I really encourage people to not think you have to have it all figured out and do it this exact way, because most people in the industry took this very roundabout way to get there. And at the end of the day, we all still got here, so it's really cool.
So Victor, this next question's for you. So your career has spanned culture, community development, storytelling, media, policy making in your first role. But now you're deciding to make a turn towards games, and your career path is about to take a bit of a turn. How are you developing your role to include games? And can you tell us a little bit about why you're going that route?
Okay, thanks. I think for us, the choice to focus on gaming and the immersive media industry in general was a very easy one to do. Yes, you pointed out I had a very interesting career trajectory. I never knew I would end up here. But I think what I've done in the last 2 decades of my career has kind of prepared me to take a front line position in using storytelling to shift societal issues and address societal issues. And at African No Filter, what I do right now speaks to the heart of using storytelling to address the narrative challenge that we notice, in Africa. And it was very easy for us to think and look towards the direction of gaming, because lots of young people love gaming. Lots of young people are interested in consuming gaming content, creating it and consuming it and engaging with it. And Africa is a young continent. I was just sharing with Justin and my friend over there that the continent is 1.2 billion people right now. By the next 24 years, precisely by 2050, Africa is projected to double its population to about 2.5 billion people. And here's the interesting thing. Of the 2.5 billion people, over 70% of that population will be under the age of 25. It's not happening in any other part of the world. The rate of population expansion in Africa and the very young demographic in Africa is not replicated in any other part of the world, right? And so if we are an organization interested in shifting narratives about the continent, then we've got to be interested in what the young people are consuming, right? 2 out of every 5 children by 2050 will be born in Africa. And all of these people, young minds, very creative minds, are all interested in consuming gaming content. So it's a no-brainer for us. It was a no-brainer for me to pitch my tent here and for my organization to be super focused on what our young people are creating and consuming in the gaming industry.
Thank you so much. So I think a lot of us have taken skills from past experiences and then applied them to different contexts, and some of that is now in the gaming industry. But many of you might still think that you have to make games to be in the industry. So Matthew, I'm going to address this one to you. Do you think that's true, that people have to be making games to get into this industry? And what is a skill that you learned outside of the gaming industry that is really useful inside of the gaming industry?
Hello? Yeah, there you go. Of course not, right? The games industry, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, it's a massive industry, and there's 1,000,001 different things that you can do in the industry that don't involve making games or even playing games. If you wanted to, again, conceptualize just anything that you're interested in, we can even do this. I'll do it on the spot. Someone yell out something not game related that you're interested in or the job that you would like to have in the future. Anyone? Lawyer. So I mentioned this one earlier. If you'd like to be a lawyer, every single games company in existence has a legal team. They're fighting for copyright. They're signing contracts. If you think about any of the esports teams that you might follow, like these famous esports players, they have agents, and their agents help them sign their contracts to play for that esports team. And so if you're interested in law, there's a place for you in the games industry. Let's do a couple more. Chef. Esports teams, at least the really really nice ones, they have chefs, right? You have these players, the same as even professional sports teams. They have private chefs preparing meals for them. Professional esports teams have teams preparing meals for them as well. Let's do another one. Engineering. So there's if we think about this next generation of gaming consoles, the engineers building them may not be gamers, but they're still thinking about the hardware and the software requirements for the PlayStation 6 or the next Xbox or the new Steam console or the next TVs or VR. And so even if you're not a gamer, or you're not thinking like, oh, the games industry necessarily is for me because I don't play games or I don't make games. It might be, if you wanted to be an engineer, you could be a systems engineer or a hardware engineer or a software engineer on the next VR headset. And that's used for games. That is the games industry. And so in thinking about these life paths, if you think that the games industry is something that may not have a place for you, rethink it. It does. There is a place for you in the games industry, and there's a place for your passion, even if that passion isn't making games themselves. And if it is, that's great as well. Of course there's a place for you. You're making games. It's the games industry. But if you didn't want to make a game, you didn't want to play a game, but you still wanted to be a part of this industry because it has so much potential and so much power, there's a place for you. And so I really do encourage that. And I promise, I don't want to use all of our time, but any single career that I heard called out, there's a place for you in the games industry.
Thank you. All right, so that's all great advice. Learn as much as you can, apply it in different contexts, be open to every experience. You never know where it's going to lead. It might lead you to the gaming industry down the line. But to the whole panel now, if the audience has made up their minds that this is where they belong and where they want to be, what practical tips can we share with them right now, right today, of what they could be doing to expand their horizons, to enter the gaming industry, either in a more direct way or an indirect way? But what are some practical tips? What can they be doing? Courses, game jams, and so on.
Okay, I'll start. I guess I see a lot of young people experimenting with drawing comics, and I've got an 8-year-old, and every time I look at his book, his classroom book, I see at the back of it he's drawing Superman and Spider-Man and all the superheroes, and I think it's very important to understand that it's a misconception to think that you've got to be a coder or very good in any of all these other technical areas to find a space in the gaming industry. And I love how Matthew has sort of laid this out. If you're good in writing, there's a space for you. And I think it's important young people understand that whatever skill they have or whatever passion or interest they have, they can begin to develop their skills in those areas. Because I came across something recently where, and Matthew had alluded to that, there's something called a virtual economy designer. People who would design the currencies and the rewards and the pricing and all of those things that keep you hooked and engaged and just makes you feel like you're in a different world, in the gaming industry. And I think the industry can accommodate as much as you can think of. So my practical tip to young people is wherever your passion lies right now, begin to develop a skill in it. In my own space, I am a narrative strategist or a narrative builder or narrative architect. And I used to love writing. As a young child, I used to open newspapers and go to, when people are looking at pictures in newspapers, I pick newspapers from my father and I go to the back page where you have those long, boring columns where people have written like 2-page articles, and I just begin to read and consume and begin to try to write like those columnists. And right now, I never knew that, 30 years down the line, I would be doing something like this. So it's very important to understand what your passion is, then develop your skill in that passion, because there's a space for you in the gaming industry.
Mine is similar, and sorry. Oh, no. Okay. I'll be quick. My real advice is just do something now. Whatever it is, don't wait. Don't wait until there's a class that can show you how to do it. Don't wait until you have to apply for a job. Just do it now. When I was in high school, my school did not have any sort of gaming extracurriculars, and so my best friend and I, we founded the competitive gaming club in our high school. We were not very cool. But looking back, it was just such a formative experience to make something. We had to get a teacher to sign off on all the forms. We had to find a space that could host us. We had to organize other students. We had to get signups. We had to make sure that they could attend. And it was like hosting an event like this, but obviously much, much smaller. But just do something. And so if you want to be a game designer, start designing. If you want to be an engineer, start looking up what people are creating and find a way to begin creating something yourself. If you want to be an artist, start drawing and start getting your art out there. You have to show it to people. So whatever it is that you're passionate about, be passionate about it and start now. And so, Amy, is the QR code? Do you know if the slide is? Okay. Well, anyway, so one of the opportunities that my organization, Games for Change, that we offer, it's called Games for Change's Student Challenge. It's an international game design competition. And so if game design or art or sound design, there's also submissions available for tabletop games, so non-digital analog games like card games and board games. There's a character design submission category, and so if you're just an artist or if you prefer just doing character designs, just Google, I guess, the Games for Change Student Challenge. Registration is open now. It's totally free. Your submissions are due next April, so you have plenty of time. And I believe Bacola or Amy will follow up with your teachers to give this to you again. But this is an amazing opportunity for you to begin making something, submit it, and there's prizes. There's scholarship money, there's award money. Some of the winners for the competition will be brought out to our festival in New York. And so again, whatever it is that you're passionate about, be passionate about it and just start now. Start building and start creating and start showing what you're making to other people to get feedback.
Well, and mine is kind of building on theirs, but practice, right? No one is good at things when they start. And I think someone once said, and I love this quote, is we compare our first draft to other people's finished products, right? So you look at a game and you think, this is really good. I can never make this. But the reality is the people that made it didn't just wake up today and make it. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago with someone an artist on one of the biggest games, won all of these awards last year. And he was talking about how he spent, drew thousands and thousands and thousands of pairs of hands over the years to just get really good at that piece of creating artwork. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I give for folks is just start practicing and developing your skill and looking at it the way you would practice for a sport or practice, an instrument or those kind of things. Really just practicing what you do and knowing that no one is good when they start. And even sometimes I would make games and I'd look at the first game we made and think, wow, that was good. And then 10 games later think, wow, we're way, way better now because it's about practice. And I think we sometimes undersell that. And then when games look really good, it looks like it's easy and it's not. And so not getting discouraged, but just putting in that time and effort, I think is really, really important because it's just it's not a natural talent, a natural ability. It's just persistence and resilience and practice.
I can go quick because that was all amazing what everyone was saying there. But to follow up on that, if you come hang with me later and we make some art for a game called Threadbare, you'll see what I guess I would say now, which is to follow up, is to try to be brave about those things you think, maybe I'm not good at this. This thing isn't for me. If I create, for me personally, you'll see me do it. I'll do it in front of you. It's art for me, the pixel art that we might create later together. That is definitely not necessarily my strong point. But yeah, you have to celebrate, you have to think of a different mindset. Failure is like part of the game. Failure is part of the process. It's nothing. It just means you learn something and you keep moving from that. So hopefully, if you can change that mindset, you can be active and kind of celebrate your ugly first drafts, so to speak. You start to you really start to give yourself small challenges, small victories. You keep learning one after another, and it becomes, that self-improvement almost becomes addicting. And I'm jealous now a little bit and excited for you, because when I was a kid, we played games, but the way you make them was like a mystery. That was not, we didn't know how that was done. It was just the Nintendo box, and we played it only, and we didn't have the ability. But now there's so many tools out there. The ones you'll use with me today, they're free, accessible online. Tons of people making videos showing you how to use them. It's all there if you want it. So just know that everybody started at that beginning point, and be brave. Yeah.
All right, so keep practicing, be brave, fail, allow yourself to fail, keep trying. Those are all great pieces of advice. We're going to end now. Thank you so much to our panel for sharing all of their amazing insights. And the good news is, if you are a student here today from one of the 10 high schools that are part of Lagos Games Week today, and you're a part of the Next Gen Summit, you're going to be able to spend lots more time with all of us over the day and get to hopefully have a bit of one-on-one and ask anybody a question that you have been dying to ask somebody but haven't had the opportunity to. So we look forward to that, and have a fantastic day and take it all in.